not on the air, so we can't really go yet. Oh, now we're on the air. 7 o'clock. Good evening. I'm calling to order this Richfield City Council meeting. It's December 9th at 7 p.m. If you're able, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, Councilmember Christensen is joining us remotely, so we will have to do roll call votes this evening. So if I slip up and forget, please remind me. Right now, it is in order to approve the agenda. So if someone wants to make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All right, Clerk, go ahead.
Was there not an item to,
My
yeah.
apologies. Yes. I did want to have item 7C removed from the consent calendar.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we're amending the agenda to remove item 7C from the consent calendar and be moved down to item 8 for consideration of items removed from the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? So first we'll vote on the amendment. City Clerk Friedrich, could you call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
And Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
Thank you.
So now we have added an amendment, so now we'll vote on approving the agenda as amended. Could we please call the roll again?
Yes, Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
We have now passed the agenda as amended. Our next order of business is the approval of the minutes.
I move approval of all sets of minutes.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the work session meeting from November 25th, 2025, the special city council meeting, truth and taxation meeting from November 25th, 2025, and the regular council meeting from November 25th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Friedrich, would you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
We've passed the minutes. Next, we'll move on to open forum. Several people have filled out cards in the back. If you're here and want to speak and haven't filled out a card, you are welcome to do that now. Participants can share their comments in person by voicemail or email and may also request to participate virtually. For more information on submitting comments, refer to the council agenda and minutes page on richfieldmn.gov/citycouncil. If comments were emailed in, they'll be distributed to the council members, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and I don't like interrupting people, so I'm going to hold up a sign when you've got 30 seconds so I don't have to cut you off in mid-sentence. So that'll be a visual suggestion, and then when the time is up, we can put the red card up so people are aware of that. Also, for privacy concerns, we're not going to ask you to give your exact address. If you could simply say your name and your city of residence, that would be helpful. So the first person that I have a card for is Ginny Morin. So if you want to come up, thank you.
I'm Ginny Morin. I am a resident of Richfield. Thank you, Mayor Supple, council members, Richfield residents, and guests. I'm here today to ask the council to reconsider their stance on supporting legislation to disrupt gun violence as and in the manner it was proposed in the September 23rd, 2025 working session. The recommendations as laid out in that session will not reduce gun violence and will only serve to criminalize law-abiding Richfield residents who are exercising their constitutional rights. Your plan of action simply doesn't make sense or move the needle in the actions that you're trying to prevent. To be clear, I do not support gun violence, nor do I know any law-abiding citizen or gun owner who does. Now, do you want to disrupt the cycle of gun violence? That solution actually moves, the solution that actually moves the needle, look at the cases. What do all of those cases have in common? They're all done by people intent on committing criminal acts. Another law doesn't suddenly make them reconsider. The fear expressed by one council person in that session that criminals will shop around for a city with less strict gun laws to commit their crimes is unfounded. Because if Chicago tells us anything, it's a dire warning. Strictest gun laws, rampant gun violence. So I ask you once again, do you really want to disrupt the cycle of gun violence? Start by insisting that the prosecutor that we contract with to prosecute crimes actually prosecutes crimes, all crimes. She's made it clear that's not her agenda. Badger the legislature to require our Attorney General to fight real crime in this state. The dirty little secret is that one more law doesn't change anything. Criminals don't stop and say, oh, wait, there's a law here. Guess I can't, that plan isn't gonna work out, not gonna do that. Infringing the rights of law-abiding citizens doesn't suddenly make a person intent on committing a crime law-abiding. I respectfully request that you reconsider your approach to not work against the rights of law-abiding residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Carol Kelly Anstead.
Good evening, Mayor Supple, and good evening, Council. Thank you very much for giving this time to our community. I'm here today to talk about the recent ICE activity in the city of Richfield. I have grave concerns about how their quite literal kidnappings are occurring here. There is concern in how they're kind of stalking residents. I love my community. I am the child of immigrants. I am a first-born generation American, and quite frankly, my Canadian-born white mother was illegal until 1980 whatever, when Reagan did his amnesty. My biggest concern is their activity in parking lots of residential areas that are often populated with our immigrant population without the proper warrants, without the proper authority, and sometimes when asked, they don't have the proper documentation. So my concern is twofold. It does not seem that they are as properly trained and versed in the law as they should be, and they are not necessarily always forthright in what someone can do while they are trying to detain someone. Additionally, when I talk about apartments, the Colony Apartments also in this community houses MICC, which is the Minneapolis Independent College Community, and those students are vulnerable adults. They're kids on the spectrum, They're kids with cognitive and learning disabilities that are being trained to and learning how to be independent. And I speak of this as a mother with a child who will be going there, who's currently in the Richfield Transitions program. Like, they're not necessarily good at following directions or processing in a timely manner. And I'm concerned about their safety, and I'm concerned about the safety of families in general. So I would very much like to ask the council to consider if there are other ways we can bring the community together or work with our police force in ensuring that these agents are following the letter of the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Erica Klein.
Thank you. My name is Erica Klein, and I live in Richfield. I'm one of the leaders of Richfield Indivisible, and when I say we in my remarks, I'm referring to Richfield Indivisible. I have two questions about policing related to ICE activities, and I would like someone to get back to me. I did leave my contact information. I understand that local police have limitations in what they can do, and my questions pertain to transparency and honesty. First, we've been told that Richfield Police, someone at least at times, have advised either citizens or ICE that someone can be arrested if they follow ICE agents for more than 3 blocks. ICE agents have claimed this to be the case and have used this as an excuse to point automatic weapons at observers and to threaten arrest. Richfield Indivisible has received guidance that there is no such law about following for 3 blocks or more. Second, and I may have misunderstood this from the report on the meeting with the city and Richfield Indivisible. Did Richfield Police say that they could be fired or lose their jobs or their policing license if they help in any way related to federal agents acting illegally in the course of the invasion? And if so, I would like to know how that job loss would occur. Would the Richfield police chief fire them? Would the ICE agent file a complaint with the Minnesota Post Board, which, as I understand it, is the only way they could lose their license for policing? Has any ICE agent ever filed a complaint with the Post Board resulting in adverse action against a local officer? Is this a realistic risk? Speaking as a resident and as one of the leaders of Richfield Indivisible, we do understand the limitations the local police may be under. We understand them, we don't like them, and we're frustrated, we're hurting, but we do understand. We want to deal with our local law enforcement with mutual honesty and transparency, and we need to have mutual trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that's here that wishes to speak? All right. Since you didn't fill out a card, can you just write down your name? Or you've got the card. Oh, thank you. That solves the problem. We just need contact information. Thank you. So I am now calling forward Steve McCune.
Yes, my name is Steve McEwen. I've been a resident in the same house of Richfield for 55 years. I've seen it, Richfield, when it was an all-white community pretty much. And over the years, we've had like the United Nations here. And it's been sort of a resurrection of our city, and I'm glad for it. What we're having now is so much fear put out there that businesses are suffering, churches are suffering, and we got little kids that shouldn't have to go and face what they're facing today. I strongly encourage to take what Minneapolis Police Chief has said, that any illegal action, that he will fire any police officer that doesn't interfere with that illegal action. And so I ask that of you for one thing. The other thing is that anything else that we can do to encourage our city from this council to take on And I will say this word, and I don't say it lightly. I'm a veteran. My dad was in World War II. My grandfather was wounded in World War I, and I have nephews that were in the Gulf and Afghanistan. That we're facing a cowardly move by administration that has no business doing what they're doing. And so anything would be helpful in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in the open forum? Anybody else? Okay, go ahead. If you haven't filled out one of the cards, you can just put your name up there, and then you can tell us your name and your city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes, and I'll hold up the sign to let you know. Right here? She'll help you. Oh, okay. My apologies. I think we missed the sign-in sheet. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right. My name is Beatrice, and my city of residence is Richfield. I am here to recount my experience with ICE agents on December 7th, this past Sunday. Me and my husband, Ethan, drove to the Church of the Assumption on behalf of our community's request to stand guard and watch for any potential ICE threats or ICE activity at the Hispanic masses, and it was just for arrivals and departures. As me and my husband pull up to the church, we park and realize that the Facebook group had informed us that there have been people showing up and that they didn't need any more help. So we just park and debate what to do. My husband notices a suspicious vehicle speeding, so he just takes note of it. And he noticed it was speeding up and down 77th, and we had only been there 5 minutes. We didn't want to jump to conclusions, so we just decided, let's just go home. It seems to be nothing to be alarmed about. As we turn onto 77th to go home, Ethan happens to drive behind the same vehicle. So I start recording just to take pictures in case, and they notice and pick up speed and drive right through red lights. They turn right onto Nicollet Avenue, run another red light. At this point, we drive back to Assumption, just to inform the group about our suspicions. We didn't follow the vehicle for more than a block. We spend about 20 minutes talking with the church group, describing the vehicle, and we noticed that the same black Ford Explorer was pulling into Roosevelt Park, and we assumed that's where ICE was posted up waiting for church to be dismissed. We just decided to park over by the gymnasium since we know that our parish members like to park over there as well. And we were just worried about their safety. At this point in time, I see ICE detaining another vehicle across the street at Roosevelt Park. I get out of the car to the sidewalk and document from across the street, and they spot me. As they run to their vehicles, I walk to my car. Ethan is yelling at me to get in the car, but I can barely hear him over the agents honking and yelling at me from across the street. When I'm finally buckled in, I hear the vehicle screeching to a halt. They're surrounding us, and in a split second, they jump out, assault weapons in hand, pointed at us. Out of fear, we drop our phones and put our hands in the air. They scream at us the entire time, not only pointing their pistols at our faces, but AR-15s as well. The whole time, they just taunt and mock us, saying, "Hit me and you'll see what happens. Record this with your little phone." We know exactly who you are and know that you're citizens, but we can detain you and we will hold you. We will arrest you for interfering with our investigation. Luckily, our PD shows up, and only then do they lower their weapons. As they walk away, one of them turns around and yells, "See what happens when you call the police? Nothing. They can't do shit to us." Our PD officer was nice, but said there wasn't much that she could do. Since they're federal, she let us know our rights and left. I wanted to bring awareness to what these agents said and did to us. These agents are truly reckless, and not only with their driving, but with how they're handling these situations of speaking to community members, citizens or not. And that's all I wanted to let you guys know.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? All right, anyone else who wishes to speak? Thank you so much to all of our speakers this evening. If there were questions asked at the next council meeting, the city manager's report will include answers, and we'll also, if we give us your contact information, then we can have them get back to you as well. So I believe I'm going to hand this so we don't lose it over to the city clerk right now so that she has everything. All right, at this point, we're going to turn to proclamations and presentations. The presenter this is a proclamation honoring Human Rights Month, and Allie Beckman and Julia Decker will be joining me at the microphone. Oh, okay. So Allie is here and Julie wasn't able to make it. So welcome. This is a proclamation of the City of Richfield. Whereas International Human Rights Month is celebrated in December to commemorate the proclamation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations on December 10th, 1948, and whereas the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has been translated into more than 562 languages and has served as a foundation for awareness and advocacy to protect and advance human rights. And whereas its 30 articles have influenced legislation such as the Minnesota Human Rights Act, which led to the founding of what is known as the Minnesota Department of Human Rights in 1967, and whereas the whereas the Richfield Human Rights Commission is one of over 37 local commissions throughout the state of Minnesota working to protect civil rights and promote equity and inclusion, and whereas Minnesota is also home to numerous human rights advocacy organizations that work locally as well as globally, including the Center for the Victims of Torture, Alight, and the Advocates for Human Rights, and whereas progress has been made to advance civil rights for all Minnesotans, but stark disparities remain in areas such as health outcomes, access to housing, and quality education. And now, therefore, I missed one more. Whereas Richfield's mission aspires to provide equitable systems, infrastructures, and services that can be leveraged to protect the human rights of its community and members. And now, therefore, I, Mary Supple, Mayor of Richfield, on behalf of the Richfield City Council, do hereby declare the month of December 2025 as Human Rights Month in the City of Richfield, and call on the people of Richfield to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies. So, thank you. I'd like to present this. I believe the city clerk wants to take a picture, and then if you'd like to say a few words. Thank you. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I don't have any prepared statements, but I'll just say hello. My name is Allie. I work at one of the organizations mentioned, the Center for Victims of Torture. I've been there for 25 years. And the people that I work with are individuals who have fled their home countries because they have been targeted because of their political beliefs, because of their religion, because of their ethnicity. A lot of the same reasons a lot of the European folks in the 1800s came here to the United States. These are folks who didn't necessarily want to leave their country, but are very grateful to be here and grateful to be in Minnesota. They're farmers, they're teachers, they're nurses, they're lawyers. They're grateful for opportunities. They want to live and work kind of just like the rest of us. And I encourage folks to get to know your neighbor. It's pretty hard to hate people when you get to know them. And we have a pretty rich community here in Ridgefield. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you. We're going to do the consent calendar. We've pulled the legislative priorities because there was a desire to make an amendment. So we will deal with that one later, but it is now in order for someone to move the consent calendar. City Manager Rodriguez, can you tell us what's on the consent calendar?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and recommended actions have also been approved. No further council action on these items is necessary. On tonight's consent calendar, item A, approve disbursements and claims. Item B, consider adoption of a resolution designating polling places for 2026. Item C has been removed and will be considered after the consent calendar. Item D, consider approval for a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license for the Blessed Trinity Catholic School located at St. Richard's Catholic Church, 7540 Penn Avenue South, for their 2026 Snowball Dance taking place January 31st, 2026. Item E, consider approval of the Second Amendment to the Response Sustainability Grant Agreement with the City of Bloomington. Item F, consider approval of the Sixth Amendment to the Local Public Health Services Agreement with the City of Bloomington for 2026. Item G, consider the renewal of the 2026 licenses for on-sale intoxicating club, on-sale 3.2% malt liquor and wine, and off-sale 3.2% malt liquor doing business in Richfield. Item H, consider the adoption of a resolution authorizing Richfield Public Safety Police Department to accept donations from the listed agencies, businesses, and private individuals for designated uses. Item I, consider the adoption of a resolution accepting grants and donations received by the Richfield Recreation Services in 2025 and authorizing staff to administer the funds in accordance with any applicable grant agreements and terms prescribed by the donors. And I submit these items for your consideration on tonight's consent calendar. Thank you.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as amended.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? I would like to thank all of the donors that gave so generously to the city, to both the police department and the recreation department. Any other discussion? Clerk Friedrich, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen. Could you please unmute? Councilmember Christensen. And Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
So the consent calendar as amended has passed. Next, we'll move on to consideration of the item removed from the consent calendar, item 7C. So I'll go ahead and read the executive summary. Each year, the City of Richfield adopts its legislative priorities, which outline the city's positions on key policy issues. This priority list serves as a summary document to guide the city's legislative advocacy and outreach in the coming year. Proposed top legislative priorities are as follows: support making 4D1 aid permanent and ensuring it is available to all impacted cities. Additionally, support provisions that ensure cities are made financially whole. Support the repeal or modification of 2024 legislation prohibiting cities from subjecting state-licensed group assisted living facilities to city rental licensing requirements. Support additional legislation to disrupt the cycle of gun violence, including provisions like stricter gun laws, strengthening existing licensing programs, the ability to ban guns in city-owned spaces, additional funding for mental health and other programs that make our community and staff safer. Recognizing that the problem is complicated, we support solutions that are both common sense and data-driven. And finally, introduce or support reductions in local contributions to county and state projects and limit any long-term ownership and major maintenance responsibility placed on local agencies. Support for bonding priorities. Support Richfield's bonding request for House File 691, Senate File 380 for $10 million to supplement the city's estimated local cost share for Hennepin County's upcoming Nicollet Avenue CSAH 52 reconstruction project recommended for construction in 26-27. Introduce or support a bonding request for $2,500,000 for the Richfield Emergency Water Interconnect Project, which will hydraulically connect the drinking water systems of Richfield and Minneapolis. The project will provide a clean and reliable secondary source of potable water for the residents and businesses within Richfield in the event of any measurable changes to the water quality of the current groundwater, source water, cyber attacks, or unplanned plant outages. City staff will present the city's adopted legislative platform to elected representatives at the annual legislative breakfast scheduled for January 15th, 2026 at 7:45 a.m. Richfield's legislative delegation will have an opportunity to discuss the priorities, ask questions, and share perspectives. Is there a motion to adopt the proposed legislative priorities?
I would first make a motion to amend it as made before.
Okay, I'll ask the city attorney, do we have to make the original motion and then move to amend it? So if you can make the motion and then you can make an additional motion to amend it.
So I would make the motion to approve and then also make a motion to amend.
Okay, so the motion before us, the original motion was to adopt the proposed legislative priorities for 2026. Formal adoption indicates the City Council's support for these priorities as being used in the best interest of the community and increases visibility for the issues. Now, for the general public that doesn't have the copy of what you're proposing to amend, would you please read your amendment?
And Mayor Supple, I second the first motion too.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, if you have an amendment, Councilmember Burke, that would be in order.
So at the end of the legislative priorities, it lists the federal priorities, legislative priorities. The one I'd like to add to the very end, to directing or asking Representative Omar to support federal legislation that requires officers of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency to, number one, wear clothing that identifies them as ICE agents. Number two, immediately identify themselves upon request. 3, inform state and local law enforcement about ICE activities in their jurisdictions. And number 4, ensure that due process is followed whenever engaging with or apprehending someone.
All right, is there a second for that motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, so we are right now discussing the amendment. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councilmember Burke?
Well, it's tough without getting a bit emotional, especially after your very moving testimony. It's clear that things need to get done. It's unfortunate that local government is not as powerful as sometimes it ought to be. Sometimes locally we make more sense than we do at the federal level. But I think this is the best that we can do. And I'm sorry that we can't do more. So.
Are there other members that would like to add anything? Councilmember Hayford Leary.
I just want to thank Councilmember Burke for bringing this forward. And thank you for everyone who showed up today as well. I think it's really unfortunate that mostly we're having to ask the federal government to follow the law and follow norms of law enforcement that have existed for decades. But that is the situation that we're in, and I think this is an appropriate response and something that we can do, and I will support the amendment.
Any other discussion?
No, I completely agree with this, the amendment.
Thank you.
Written. And I'll second that amendment be added.
All right. I would also support this amendment. I think that, as was stated, there are certain things that should just, that's the way it should work. We shouldn't have to have people wearing masks. We shouldn't have to have people refusing to identify themselves. I have great respect for law enforcement, but I do not have respect for the things that have been happening in Richfield lately. It has been an abuse of authority, and I think we should throw our weight behind trying to get it changed. So I would be in full support of this amendment. City Clerk Friedrich, have we lost Councilmember Christensen, or is she still with us somewhere?
She is still with us. We were having some issues with the mute and unmute. So we'll try it again, and if we can't get her in, we'll go with a vote of 4.
Okay. Is she able to?
Give me 3 seconds here. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Councilmember Christensen, did you want to add anything to the discussion?
No, not at this time, no.
All right, so is there any further discussion? We're voting just on the amendment to amend the current legislative policies. So Clerk Friedrich, could you please take the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so that amendment has passed unanimously, so it is now part of the main legislative platform. So we are now discussing the platform as amended. I believe that we had a resident that spoke with a request to change the legislative policies that are being proposed. So if anyone wishes to speak to that or any other item that is in the legislative priorities, this would be the time to do so. Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
I appreciate the resident sharing their concerns, and I will say I definitely heard them. I respectfully disagree with the conclusion, although I agree that criminals break laws. I think part of our problem in our country and in Richfield is there's just too many guns, and anything we do to reduce access to guns, in my opinion, is the right thing for protecting Richfielders and protecting Americans. So I continue to support it as written.
Are there any other comments? Councilmember Burke.
Yeah, I second Councilmember's comments, and I would also add that an important part of this is the city's ability to say when guns can be brought into city property. That, to me, is the most important thing. And it's surprising to me, as an attorney, not be aware of such absence of laws, but I'm certainly glad that we're making this effort.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Thank you, Mayor. I, as a legal gun owner, actually would still support this as it's written. I understand that the comments that our constituent made. However, I think that it's still required that we make our legislative stance on restricting gun purchases.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Christensen, did you want to add anything?
No.
All right, thank you. And I appreciate the sentiments that were expressed. People do make choices. I also think that we have a very big supply of guns right now that are not necessary. And kids, like having been a teacher, kids are curious, and we have people that are playing with guns and get hurt. If you're having suicidal ideation and you have easy access to a gun, you end up having a higher rate of risk for someone that might harm themselves. So there's a number of different things. So we are saying that we're strengthening the existing licensure programs. We are not saying that we're going to say that a legal gun owner cannot have a gun, but we're trying to make the laws strict because, in my opinion, things like high-capacity magazines are not necessary for hunting or self-protection. So I think we can look and try and find solutions that are both common sense and data-driven. So I would support it as written. Is there any other discussion that anybody else would like to talk about? All right, so we have a motion before us for the legislative platform as amended. Clerk Friedrich, could you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary,
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen,
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods,
Aye.
and Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so we have passed that portion. Moving on, we are going to go to item 11A, which is to consider resolutions approving the 2025 revised and the 2026 proposed budgets, the tax levy, and the related resolutions, and I'll turn that over to Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Thank you, Mayor. On September 23rd, 2025, the City Council approved and certified a preliminary tax levy of $31,749,381, which included a levy for general fund operations of $25,475,883, a debt service levy of $3,946,030, an equipment and technology levy of $1,682,308, and an economic development agency level of levy of $645,160. There are no proposed changes to the final levy as proposed. The 2026 gross levy represents a 6.16% increase from the 2025 gross levy. The proposed 2026 Housing and Redevelopment Authority levy is a 3% increase to $742,230. The combined gross levies represent a 6.808% increase over the 2025 combined gross levies. The final tax levy of $32,491,611, which includes both the city levy and the HRA levy, must now be considered and approved by the City Council. Taxpayers have received their individual parcel specific tax notices as part of the Truth in Taxation hearing process. The City of Richfield held its 2025 Truth in Taxation hearing on November 25th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. At this meeting, staff presented and the council discussed the proposed city budget. While finalizing the city's 2026 budget book, the staff carefully reviewed every budget at fund level and department level. There are 4 changes made to the budget book since the August 12th, 2025 work session. Please note that these changes have no impact on the general fund budget and the levy and the tax levy. Below are the changes to the budget book. During discussion on August 12, 2025, the City Council directed that the Public Works budget be increased by $55,000. The increase will fund asphalt trail maintenance, stop sign replacement, warning sign replacement, and the forestry tree planting. This increase was included in the proposed property tax levy that the City Council approved on September 23rd, 2025, and is now reflected in the budget book. Utility rates are proposed to increase by 7% for water, 2% for sewer, and 10% for storm. These utility rates increases are reflected in the budget book for these enterprise funds. The local tax revenue and debt service payments on the general operating local sales tax bonds are now included in the 2025 revised and the 2026 proposed budget for the debt service funds. And as adopted during the November 25th, 2025 City Council meeting, the budget book now includes the following for 2025 revised. Ice Arena loans totaling $472,170 will be paid off with a transfer from the Long-Term Capital Reserve Fund. The Elections Fund is transferring $1.8 million to the Long-Term Capital Reserve Fund, and this amount is designated for future government building capital projects. Included for your consideration are salary increases for non-represented employee pay plans, and the proposed increases are a 3% increase for the general services and the specialized pay plans. The increases will be effective the first pay period of January 2026, and this change will be reflected in the paycheck issued on January 16th. And is there a motion to adopt the resolutions approving the 2025 revised and 2026 proposed budgets, tax levy, and related resolutions?
So did you want to make that motion then?
Yes, please. Let's make that motion.
All right, so is there a second?
Do we want to give staff a chance?
I will.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Did staff want to add anything, or are you simply present for questions?
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted another round of thank yous. I want to thank Budget Manager Steve McDaniel for all his work leading the budget process, for directors and their teams for putting the budget together, council members for their good direction. I also want to thank the community members that spoke at Truth in Taxation. They really made compelling points, and while putting the budget together on our side is really difficult, it gets more challenging every year. I heard from them that it's challenging on their side as well with those annual increases. So we will carry that forward when we put the budget together next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? I would echo City Manager Rodriguez's thanks, and I also want to thank you because you were a good leader in organizing this whole project and thoroughly looking at the budget and taking all of the feedback into consideration. So I appreciate that. Is there any other discussion? City Clerk Friedrich, could you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
So the motion passes. Next, we'll move on to item 11B, Councilmember Burke.
The item for consideration is a labor agreement with Law Enforcement Labor Services, Inc., Local 123, police officers, and Teamsters Local 320, police sergeants and police lieutenants for 2026-2027. A 2-year labor agreement has been reached with the police officers, police sergeants, and police lieutenants bargaining units. The contracts would take effect January 1st, 2026, and remain in effect through December 31st, 2027. The agreements provide consistent cost of living adjustments, targeted market adjustments, and updates to specialty and on-call compensation to support recruitment, retention, and internal pay equity across the police departments. For police officers, LELS Local 123, 2026 3% COLA plus 1% market adjustment, 2027 3% COLA plus 1% market adjustment, special assignment pay increase from $300 to $350 a month specialty pay on top of step pay. Officers take on special assignments as part of professional development. At any time, there are approximately 8 to 11 officers assigned to special assignments, which is about 20% of all officers. For police sergeants, Teamsters Local 320, 2026 3% COLA plus 1% market adjustment, and 2027 3% COLA plus 1% market adjustment. Specialty pay increase from $300 to $350 per month. Standby court pay increase from $37 to $65 per occurrence for felony level or county attorney charged cases. And clothing allowance increase from $965 to $1,000 a year. And for police lieutenants, Teamsters Local 320, 2026 3% COLA plus 1% market adjustment, 2027 3% COLA plus 1% market adjustment, on-call compensation, $350 a month beginning January 1st, 2026, and clothing allowance increase from $965 to $1,000 a year. Additionally, police officers, police sergeants, and police lieutenants will receive the same insurance benefits, including the new Minnesota Paid Leave Program, as all employees. Any additional comment from staff?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Teamsters, LELS, their business agents, and the stewards that represented the various unions. And I also wanted to thank staff and the negotiation team. Everyone was very respectful, professional throughout the process. So I just wanted to thank everyone for participating and also to get us to where we are now. And I'll take any questions that the councilor may have.
So I'll make a motion to adopt the resolutions approving the provisions of the 2026-2027 labor agreements with Law Enforcement Labor Services, Inc., Local 123, and Teamsters Local number 320, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreements.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I did have a question. Assistant City Manager Tong Vong, could you tell us how much this will cost for this settlement in additional expense to the city?
Thank you, Mayor Supple. The additional, I wouldn't say additional cost, but within budget, there'll be about a net impact about $75,000. And it's encouraging. It's encouraging because the market has started to stabilize compared to 2024, where we had an 11.4% increase to the budget, and that accounted for a 3% COLA, but an 8.4% market adjustment. In 2025, we had a 1% market adjustment. So now with this contract in 26 and 27, it will be a 1% market adjustment for each year. Knowing that, the city does still need to be competitive in terms and continue to be competitive in the market and continue to recruit and retain our officers. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there additional questions or discussion? Thank you to all the parties to the negotiation, both from the labor side and from the city side. I appreciate that. If there's no further discussion, Clerk Friedrich, could you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion passes. Next, we'll turn it over to Councilmember Hayford O'Leary for item 11C, to consider a request for an interim use permit to allow temporary and occasional employee parking on a vacant lot adjacent to Lake Winds Co-op.
Thank you. Executive summary is Lake Winds Co-op has submitted an application for an interim use permit to utilize the vacant and unpaved lot south of their property for approximately 122 days a year for the next 5 years, which is the maximum term afforded by the zoning code. Lot 4, which is the name of the lot, an adjacent but entirely separate lot from the Lake Winds Co-op lot, was acquired by Lake Winds Co-op in 2016. At that time, Lake Winds Co-op requested and was granted a 2-year interim use permit to utilize the lot for occasional employee parking for no more than 45 days a year. The IUP was granted on the basis that the need for long-term parking in the area would be better evaluated once the parcel to the north was developed. Development of the parcel to the north of Lake Winds Co-op has proven to be slower than anticipated. I'm just going to pause temporarily from staff's writings to clarify that as the brewery lot that we've talked about many times. So not that lot, we're talking about it a lot on the other side of Lake Winds. Back to the staff summary. Additionally, in the years since the previous IUP expired, Lake Winds Co-op customer base has grown significantly, which in turn puts continued strain on the availability of parking. See the attached applicant's request letter for more information in our packet. Parking is not permitted as the primary use of a parcel. In order to develop Lot 4 into permanent parking, it would need to be formally combined with the Lake Winds Co-op lot, and the planned unit development would have to be amended. An interim use permit would afford Lake Winds Co-op more time to evaluate long-term needs in conjunction with the eventual development of the northern parcel. Building more parking when it is truly not needed would be unfortunate and against the premise that the property should be used for the highest and best use. As in 2016, only minor maintenance of the lot as opposed to paving and striping is recommended. Paving and striping could encourage regular use of the lot by non-employees, which is not the intent. Appropriate signs and landscaping, as described in the proposed resolution, will help prevent non-employee parking. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on November 24th. No members of the public spoke. Planning Commission voted 3-2 to recommend approval of request. Dissenting commissioners preferred a 3-year term combined with 2 single-year extensions for a total possible term of 5 years, rather than just doing 5 years off the bat. Staff finds the request reasonable and recommends approval. Just to keep things moving, I'll go ahead and make the initial motion and then we can discuss more. I move that we approve a 5-year interim use permit for occasional employee parking on vacant Lot 4, adjacent to 6420 Lindale Avenue South.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Yes. Well, does staff have anything to add at this time, or should I just go to my questions?
Let's just go to your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I am a little bit concerned about this. The language or the idea here is that this is a temporary use, and it's not that bad that we're breaking our rules of it being the exclusive use of the parcel because it is temporary. But the situation has existed since 2013, which was 12 years ago, and we're proposing to extend that to 17 years of having this very unsightly parcel surrounded by a permanent parking lot on all sides. So I'm not very excited to see this back in the same form again. I'm becoming skeptical basically that there is any realistic redevelopment use of the parcel. And I'm uncomfortable with sort of giving them a blank check for the full 5 years. In part, it is really unsightly. It has been kind of an unregulated space. I just got a complaint in the last week of an apartment resident nearby who was complaining about illegal dump truck parking on there. To Lakeland's credit, they did resolve that issue when they were alerted to it. I see some protections in this of adding the landscaping, but basically we have a really unsightly eyesore in this area that we put so much priority into. And they're basically expanding their previous authorization for a longer period of time. So I also raised one concern, although this isn't necessarily a Factory Way, they do have at least 12 spots of available on-street parking that is not being utilized for employees. So I think my suggestion, I think the permits that staff have put in, or the provisions that staff put in here to require signage and require landscaping are helpful. I would like to go back to the 3-year term that the minority of the Planning Commission recommended, just to encourage them to keep moving. And then I would also just ask Lakewinds, and if staff could pass on the suggestion, if the council agrees with it, to explore use of the available on-street parking to avoid having to continue to use this for 17 years.
So are you making a formal amendment?
Yes, I will move that we keep everything as is, except change it to a 3-year interim use permit.
Is there a second?
When can I ask questions? Should I wait?
Well, if you want to second it so we can debate it, and then we can vote it up or down, you can ask the questions then.
Mayor Seppel,
go
may I
ahead.
ask a question of Councilmember Hayford O'Leary? The Planning Commission actually debated a motion that would have limited it to 3 years, but authorized 2 one-year administrative extensions by the developer, or I'm sorry, by the director, so long as Lakewinds would come in and talk with us about the progress that they had been making and what they were doing. You referenced the Planning Commission motion, so I want to make sure, are you actually proposing what the Planning Commission discussed, or 3 years period? Thank you.
For this motion, I will say what the Planning Commission recommended, the 2-year available administrative extensions.
Thank you.
Okay, now, do we have a second?
I would second the amendment.
Okay, so now we're discussing the amendment. Are there any questions? Councilmember Burke.
So is there anything about this that would prevent development during this time period?
Councilmember Burke, there is not. And I will also mention that I believe the general manager for Lakewinds is here tonight in case the council has any questions for them about their use of the property and their long-term plans, just to mention.
Other questions?
Well, could I ask questions of the director then, or the store
Yes,
manager?
I had a question for the director too, so.
Yeah, well, if you want to complete your staff question, but if the store manager could come up, I do have a couple questions for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Director Paleman, I'm curious as to what is the procedure for like that extra administrative approval? Is that a difficult procedure that's going to take a lot of staff time? Or is it something that's pretty quick that could happen? Because realistically, I doubt that something's going to happen in the next 5 years. And if it's a small thing, fine, but if it's going to take a whole lot of staff time for something that probably isn't going to matter, then I would have concerns about that. So how long does it take to do an administrative approval?
Yes, thank you for the question, Mayor Seppel. Generally, when we have done these types of administrative approvals, what we've requested is that the applicant come in and meet with staff to discuss actions that they've taken, if they've done any studies, if they have any further plans, if they've had discussions about the future, what that looks like. So it's essentially been a check-in. It has not been an onerous thing for either staff or the applicant. That is not the intent. It's to make sure that it continues to stay on everyone's at top of mind, and that we understand this isn't a permanent solution.
Thank you. And for the, could you introduce yourself, sir?
Lakewinds Food Co-op. I want to thank city staff for the support that they've provided through this process, and for council and Mayor Seppel's consideration of our application.
Thank you. Councilmember Hayfield-Leary, you had questions?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for making this meeting. I know this was originally on consent, and I appreciate you making the time for us. My question is, what do you see happening with this parcel in 5 years? One of the reasons why we're allowing this is the hope that there would be redevelopment there. But I will just say I'm skeptical if you don't have enough parking in your current lot that you would want a building there that also demands parking.
I think that that's an appropriate statement. Our business has grown tremendously, as the report shares. And as a community-owned food co-op, it is very much our desire to provide services to the members of the community that elect to shop at our co-op. With the growth of our co-op, that additional parking has become increasingly important for our smooth operation, to the extent that the city would consider a combination of the lots in future. This is work that we would like to endeavor in. In the meantime, the interim use permit was a temporary solution that provided opportunity for feedback and consideration.
Okay.
Additional development on that site beyond our intended use of a parking lot would constrict access to our business in a way that would be unfavorable.
Okay. And then just out of curiosity, is there a reason why you don't direct employees to use the on-street parking that's available?
The on-street parking development has really been made available just in the last year.
Yeah.
And availability for those spots, I'm not sure what the count of the spots is. I think it's somewhere between 10 and 15 spots. They're heavily used by the residents of the apartment buildings surrounding our co-op.
Okay, well, I would just ask, regardless of what we approve tonight, if you can consider looking at that. I see cars on the apartment side a lot, but almost never on the Lakewind side, and it just seems like a shame to have this extra asphalt and then also need to use this temporary lot. But thank you, those are all my questions, unless anybody else has any.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion of the amendment? We're voting just on the amendment. Go ahead.
I think fundamentally, their long-term desire is to make this a permanent parking lot, and it feels like right now we kind of have the worst of both worlds of they're effectively exceeding the parking maximums that they're allowed to have, but we're not even getting a decent-looking lot to do that in. So I do think it's reasonable to limit them to 3 years, especially knowing that it's a fairly minor ask of staff and the applicant to just come in and update them on their progress in 3 years. I think it's helpful to keep them accountable and keep them moving, especially, again, given that this has been 12 years in the current situation.
All right, any further discussion? We're voting just on the amendment. City Clerk Friedrich, could you call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford-O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
So now we've approved the amendment, so now we are discussing the motion as amended. So is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, City Clerk Friedrich, could you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford-O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
So we have now concluded that business item, and we'll move on to the city manager's report. Thank you all for everybody that was here. City Manager Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. At the last meeting during open forum, there was a short-term rental owner that spoke to express his concerns about the new short-term rental fee. He thanks staff for their information, but still feels the fee is too high. He believes it's higher than neighboring cities. Most of our neighboring cities have actually banned short-term rentals. The total initial fee in Minneapolis is higher than the proposed fee, although subsequent years in Minneapolis is lower. We will be reviewing the fees after the first year. Also, the owner suggested that we could use the tourism tax to help offset the cost to enforce the program, but the tourism tax, we are obligated to remit 95% of that tourism tax to the Richfield Tourism and Promotion Board for promotion services, so that's not an option. Also, Mayor Supple facilitated a meeting last week with community volunteers, and it included Chief Henthorn and Deputy Chief Griffin and myself. And we talked through what the city can and can't do in response to the additional ICE activity. We agreed to continue to communicate and to work together to keep people safe. You know, the city is doing everything that they can, spending a lot of time trying to respond where we can. I know that feels insufficient right now. And I just want to say I'm really impressed and grateful for the community efforts to help those impacted families. There's a lot of people out there volunteering to keep people safe. So I appreciate that. And that's it tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for City Manager Rodriguez? All right, then we will move on to council discussion, and it can be either hats off to Hometown Hits or liaison reports. Councilmember Coleman Woods, did you have anything?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I really do want to extend my gratitude to everybody who has been boots on the ground for our residents here who are being harassed and being detained and unlawfully and illegally. And I think it's been taking a lot more volunteers and a lot of effort in order for people to become present in the most difficult times in what I can remember our city ever having. Having been a lifelong resident here and having grown up here, it is a brown girl's dream that people come together and actually come up with ideas, solutions, safety measures, that volunteers come out in droves. And so while I have continued to try to live this life, it has been my greatest honor to serve with the mayor and the activists that are here in our city. And so I thank all of the community members that have been in the streets and on the ground trying to keep our citizens safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Christensen? Councilmember Christensen, did you have anything that you wanted to say or add?
No.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Just briefly, liaison report, I will say Transportation Commission had kind of a fun kind of meeting where they basically just did a Q&A session with an extra meeting. It was just a nice idea that I think other commissions could benefit from. So just questions of like, how does a road get built? How do traffic signals work? That sort of stuff is really helpful. For hats off, I did not have anything, but I just want to thank Councilmember Coleman Woods for her comments. That was very powerful, and I am also really touched by seeing people show up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Burke.
Nothing. Thank you. Nothing.
Thank you. Given the weather out there, I want to do a preemptive thank you to the Public Works Department that's going to be out there plowing the roads and keeping everyone safe. I also want to thank the community for all of the things that people have been doing to come together. The impact of the actions of ICE on this community have been, I'm not even sure how to say it. The magnitude has been stunning and not in a positive way. So I have been very impressed with people going out to get groceries for their neighbors, giving people rides to appointments, standing outside of schools to make sure that kids feel safe coming and going to school so they can go to school, standing outside of churches so people can worship without fear. And there have been people working together to stand in solidarity, working together. And also, I want to thank our public safety for the things they've been doing to de-escalate some situations that have been very tense and dangerous to help keep people safe. As we heard the testimony tonight, there have been some things that are unspeakable going on in this community, and I am very proud of our community for the way everybody has been standing together. So thank you to everybody that has helped their neighbors. Is there anybody else that wants to add anything? Then I would accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
And seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. That is not debatable. So City Clerk Friedrich, would you call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.